Use code AFTV20 for 20% off your order with Fireaway Pizza. Just click the link in the description below or go to fireaway.co.uk now.
Arsenal lose the first tie, or the first leg, shall I say, of the tie, 1-0. It could be salvaged Turkish, but, you know, that's probably the only positive, is that there's 90 minutes to fix this. The 90 minutes we saw was so far from the Arsenal we've seen post-Dubai.
Yeah, that's the most frustrating thing, because it can be salvaged, and we'll see in a few weeks. I think it's 3 weeks from now, whether we do that, and that's when we make a full assessment of it. But I just think the flow we was in, you know, the mood we was in front of goal, 21-5, 11-2, much was made of it. You know, we can't act like that flow that we was creating, that you know, good vibes that was coming with the goals and the second half of the season. And you know, we're seeing City drop points recently and being very much firmly back in the title race against Liverpool.
Yeah.
This is a hump, because it brings not only us back down to earth a little bit, but also, you know, the people, the opposition around us thinking, oh, are they serious this time? This puts a little dent in that.
Yeah.
And I think that does matter. So that's the most frustrating thing of it, because it's kind of ruined the flow that we were in. Hopefully we renew that again against Newcastle and we kick on, forget about this, and we dispatch them in the second leg. But I can't lie, very underwhelming. You know, I was looking forward to the return of the Champions League. There wasn't, you know, we both said it on the weekend during the Burnley game. No one was really, you know, thinking too much about the Champions League. It was about getting the job done one game at a time.
Looks like the players didn't either.
Nah.
That's how it feels.
Bro, I mean, look, at the start of the watch-along, I said to you, I think Saliba, Rice and Saka need to have a big game. I called them the spine of our future, because obviously Trossard, being up front, he is a spine, but Saka is the star boy of the attack. And I think Saliba, very lucky not to be on the end of harsh criticism, because that you know, double chance that Galeno had, I think, I don't know how it didn't hit the back of the net, and that would have been all on Saliba. You know, his reaction time was poor. I look at Rice, very silly to get a yellow card in the first 2 minutes. Didn't need to commit, and I believe it did hamper him about 10 minutes later.
I think it hampered the team. Not to be too dramatic about it, but it felt like, and it's all ifs, buts and maybes, but if you're six, who is known as a ball winner, tackle, a destroyer in that midfield, you press with a bit more conviction, knowing he can clean up, but knowing that he couldn't really do that as much as he wanted to. You saw him making some very good tackles, but at times also just holding back a little bit, and it just felt like actually the team's rhythm was just... I'm not playing that whole performance, obviously. Everyone else from an attacking perspective on the ball really poor as well, but I just think it was one moment that I think summed up a lot of Arsenal, just a bit silly, like... That was poor judgment, and it felt like that was a theme throughout the game.
Yeah, I agree. It does have an effect on the people around, because Rice is so, you know, important for us. So kind of having him one arm tied behind his back for 90 minutes didn't bode well for the rest of the game. And Saka, for me, he was poor. You know, a goal or assist didn't, you know, save this performance. Not saying that his performances haven't picked up, but you know, there's a lot of expectation. Listen, I named these three at the start because a lot of debate about world class, you know, recently, Saka in particular, but I think Declan and Saliba, I mean, in their own right, are in their own conversations, in their own positions. But these are the moments that these players need to step up. You know, I think getting us back to the Champions League knockout stages in particular was part one, or back to square one for me. You know, you mentioned that my first interview on AFTV came after the 5-1 in Munich. So coming back into the Champions League, I just wanted us to be ready. And today's performance stank a lot of Sporting last year, Villarreal the year before, Olympiacos the year before that, where it's hard to pin down why it happened, but it happened. And if it's happening consistently, then it's a bigger problem than, of course, if it's a flash in the pan. It's not a flash in the pan, these performances in big European knockout games. It's been a running theme. I'm not gonna go too hard overall, because we have got a second leg to salvage it. But you know, I've mentioned three players. Trossard, I don't think he had a great game. Probably shouldn't have been the one to be taken off, because I think he can, you know, make something happen out of nothing.
Martinelli gives the ball away at the very end.
I was going to mention Martinelli, poor again. You know, I'm really waiting on him to kick on. Still got faith. He tends to be the one business end to pick up pace. So I'm hoping, you know, he does find his feet real soon. But another poor performance capped off with a poor moment at the end that played its part in us losing the game. So not great from Martinelli and not great from Havertz either. Not great. I don't want to dwell on it too much, but I think, you know, a lot of people have linked me to Havertz now because I gave him a 5 out of 10 a couple games ago against West Ham. I just don't see no difference in his performances against West Ham, against Burnley, and today against Porto. I see no differences, and that's me being honest with you. I see no differences. I believe they're all in and around the 5 average performance, but the goal against Burnley obviously shoots that one up a little bit to let's say a 7. But I just don't see what he's bringing yet.
Okay.
He's a player that I'm seeing that, you know, when we're winning games comfortably, the fans really want to push and motivate and back him. I get that, but sometimes I feel like we're doing a bit too much. You know, Arteta's helped raise the standards, you know, and we've got to, you know, keep those standards raised at the same time. And
I hear you.
Havertz.
I hear you.
Ben White probably the man of the, well, not the man of the match because we lost, but probably the only player that comes out with any sort of praise. I think Raya probably too far out of his goal for the goal, but it was a great finish. I'm not going to blame Raya for it. I think it was a great finish. Kivior, I think Kivior done well. Yeah,
I thought Saliba's poor moment that Galeni scored from is probably what lets him down, whereas the rest of the back four, I was fairly happy with what they did. I thought they were under pressure, they were pressed really well, they actually kind of stood up to it fairly well, they did what defending they had to do, but it wasn't it was a decent enough platform, but the rest of the team didn't build on it. Very quickly, do we turn this around?
Yes, I'm still confident we turn it around. Listen, I hope we do, because going out at this stage to Porto, it's unacceptable.
And I think it would really kill momentum in the Premier League.
Listen, it puts a lot of people last season bigger fish to fry and all that, but it puts a lot more pressure on the only competition you're in. It's better to be in both competitions going into April, going into May, hopefully, fingers crossed. But right now we've left ourselves with all the work to do, so hopefully we do it.
Welcome back to the Forever Arsenal podcast.
Black, white, young, old, Lee's on there. Disabled, abled, man. Well, it doesn't.
Smith Rowe didn't get a minute yesterday. Not a minute that needs minutes. Where's he going to get his minutes from now? Get your notifications on, ladies and gentlemen. Tactical's out tomorrow.
I think the idea of Mesut Ozil was better than the actual reality of Ozil at Arsenal.
Your mic, not turn your camera off.
For the audio listeners, Lee's in pieces. Lee's in pieces.